When I tell you that in all the years I've done this, with the exception of '08, that I haven't seen supply issues like this, I'm dead serious. This is exactly what I was talking about, only it's earlier than I thought it would happen. When I look at the inventory sheet, and I've shared this one with you a week or so ago, it's even worse now, Dunnigan, of one of the largest wholesalers in the world, every single product is sold out in silver with the exception of silver shot, silver 1,000-ounce bars, and pre-order of 2023 UK Britannias. Everything else is gone.
Hi, I'm Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and this is the Miles Franklin Special of the Week for October 11th through October 18th, 2022. This week we have two specials. First, Kilo silver bars from JBR Recovery. These 3/9 fine bars are cast with an individual serial number and are LBMA Good Delivery accredited. They also have the unique distinction of being refined to a high purity from recycled sources. Best of all, they're available at only $3.50 over spot while supplies last. Our second special this week is the 2022 Silver Maple, made by the Royal Canadian Mint. The maple is 4/9 fine and was the first silver coin made to that exemplary purity. It comes in tubes of 25, monster boxes of 500, and is available for $7.25 over spot. Both our specials this week are IRA eligible. And if you'd like to learn more about an IRA with precious metals inside it, call us and we'll be happy to help you in that process. Our number for all orders is 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Welcome back to Liberty and Finance. We're always glad to bring you the CEO of Miles Franklin Precious Metals, Andy Schectman, for a weekly market update every Tuesday. Today he joins us this Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. Andy, thanks for coming back on Liberty and Finance.
Great to be here, Dunnigan. Thank you. These are crazy times. Maybe as crazy as I've ever seen, with perhaps the exception of 2008 and the chaos in this industry that ensued during and after.
One of the things you and I were just discussing before we started the interview was the unprecedented order volume and demand that we're seeing. It's affecting a lot of aspects of everyone's experience. So maybe we can just walk through that kind of a page at a time. Product availability, product selection, delays, paperwork and processing, the crews, everybody working extra and still finding that it's difficult to keep up with the demand. So can we start there, and you talk us through it both from the customer experience, but also from your experience of what you're seeing on the inventory?
Don't want to say this is what I was talking about, but this is the beginning of what I was talking about, where an increased interest in precious metals is butting heads with a fractured and compromised supply chain, where the whole world has awoken to inflation, not just here in the United States. We've done a wonderful bang-up job of exporting inflation around the globe. So on top of inflation being high here, you have inordinately high dollar strength, which is making gold and silver that much more attractive in other currency terms across the globe. And we are competing with way more people for, a tiny pool of supply. And I say way more people, I mean globally, because everyone has awoken. You got gold at all-time highs against the British pound. I mean, people around the world are noticing the importance of fleeing or mitigating exposure to fiat currency, and the place to be is in precious metals. Now, the inordinately high and unjustifiably high value of the dollar on the dollar index, even though it seems to be precipitously losing value here in relative terms when you try to spend it, is creating a distortion in the real value of gold and silver. But what else is new? I digress. But what we've seen really is a massive amount of demand, and it is industry-wide slowing up delivery. It is gumming up the works a little bit. We always like to ship as promptly as possible, but there's a couple days delay in all of this, and I feel blessed and fortunate in order to be able to even say this. And it is one of the, I guess you could say, drawbacks of being kind of a hybrid old school model where there's a personal touch involved in all of this. Now, as a side note, I've been telling you and everyone else that our website is almost done, and it really for real is almost done. It has been a series of setbacks and mishaps and disappointments that has gotten me to the point where I'm not going to release it to the public until it is perfect. And we're almost there. So please believe me, it's coming. But in the meantime, when you're having the human touch involved in all of this unprecedented demand and fear, where people want to talk to someone, because this is not just, this is what I want for people who are new to this market. It's creating a little bit of a delay in how fast things are getting out. We'd like to normally say 1 to 3 days after receipt of a wire. Could be 5 to 7 days now, hopefully not. But I just want to manage expectations, as you and I were talking about. It is the proper thing to do. It is a blessing, but it's also something that is challenging my operations staff down to every last person. We are doing the very best we can, and you put into the mix, tenuous supply. When I tell you that in all the years I've done this, with the exception of '08, that I haven't seen supply issues like this, I'm dead serious. This is exactly what I was talking about, only it's earlier than I thought it would happen. When I look at the inventory sheet, and I've shared this one with you a week or so ago, it's even worse now, Dunnigan, of one of the largest wholesalers in the world, every single product is sold out in silver with the exception of silver shot, silver 1,000-ounce bars, and pre-order of 2023 UK Britannias. Everything else is gone. When I look at gold, it's almost the exact same thing. There's some kilo bars, and that's about it. Everything else is gone. Now, this is what I mean by unprecedented demand. And if you take a look from the top of the supply chain on down, look, I mean, since the end of April, we've seen almost 530 tons of gold leave the New York and the London vaults and the COMEX and the LME. And at the same time, you're seeing massive, according to PAMP Swiss, they're saying all of the Asian imports are off the charts, hit a 4-year high in August. So it's being bled off the exchanges here. It's being sent across the globe to Asia and the rest of the Eurasian continent. And at the same time, you have people waking up here, and it's just creating an environment where I don't think you've seen anything yet. When there's that moment and people start to panic, then it'll really be crazy. This is just a microcosm of it, but it is 100% for real, and as real as anything I have seen in 33 years, and unparalleled anything I've seen in 33 years, with the exception of 2008, where everything was gone for about 3 months.
You know, I got to corroborate part of what you're saying. We talked in the past about a $50 million order that happened in the middle of the year. We've talked about some potential $5 million orders that various clients have intimated to me that they'd like me to, quote unquote, prepare for. Even some $500,000 orders in the past week. 3 different clients have said, will you be ready if I need to order? You know, it ends up being, 260 American Gold Eagles or a similar number of other gold coins. And I have to keep telling them, I could probably do one of you, but I can't do all 3 of you. So somebody's got to make their move first. And that's a strange situation to be in, where people who are awakening and who are trying to time their move accordingly, maybe trying to average in, that sort of thing, are finding that in larger quantities, it's going to be extremely difficult to fill multiple large orders from multiple clients, especially when the refill pipeline upstream, it sounds like in the supply chain, is not going to be there.
There's only 40 million ounces left for delivery on COMEX in the registered category. The LBMA has lost more silver in the last few months than the COMEX has for delivery. And, the high premiums, done again, are not just here in North America, you're seeing, according to PAMP Swiss, they're one of the largest refiners in the world, and they published some stuff that I saw on Reuters, and it said that gold in Dubai and Istanbul and on the Shanghai Gold Exchange has traded at multi-year premiums. And I mean, that's a sign that buying is outstripping imports. And they went on to also say that silver in India is trading at more than 3 times its usual premium level. So this is something new where you're seeing countries start to really accumulate silver at the same time. And so when you talk about this, the ability to successfully manipulate a market, at least here in the West, you can only do it over an extended period of time by pushing it in the direction that it is going. And when you see the massive demand in Asia and India and the rest of the BRICS nations, look at Turkey as an example, who has applied for BRICS, membership in BRICS. They've bought more gold in the first 7 months of the year than any of the central banks of the world. So you're seeing this drive by these countries to accumulate hard assets, commodities, the real thing, and they're using the suppressed price to do so. And it's starting to create distortions, not just in the retail market here, but in the biggest exchanges on the planet, where premiums are trading at multi-year highs or 3 times what they normally are. That is the precursor to something breaking. You can't hold this system together with bubblegum and baling wire forever when the demand is greatly outstripping the supply, when you have a gold-silver ratio that is 11 times its geologic footprint. These are distortions created by manipulations. And for every action, there's an equal or opposite reaction. And when you hold that reaction back, it only is going to exacerbate the reaction when it is finally when the force that is built up, like holding a beach ball down underwater, and the further you push it, the greater the pressure that pushes it up until it finally blows. Don't know when that'll be, but by the biggest money in the world draining the exchanges and the countries around the globe paying more money than they ever have, and still there's not enough supply to meet the demand. Well, that tells us, at least tells me, that inevitability is the name of the game. It's not if, it's when.
I want to poke the bear on the theme that you've been, and the Russian bear, that you've been talking about since your main stage keynote presentation at the Rick Rule Symposium on Natural Resource Investing in Boca Raton. And you've been invited back to several other venues to give that talk again. You've interviewed about it. You've augmented it because things are continuing to develop in that story. I just interviewed, not a couple hours ago, Wayne Jett, constitutional attorney and author of this book I'm going to hold up, The Fruits of Graft, Great Depressions Then and Now. He does this historical analysis of what led up to and worsened and lengthened the Great Depression of the early 1900s in the U.S. And the factors that led up to that, he says, are the globalist cabal banking system, and that any U.S. president or other world leader who stood up against those central banks and said, we're going to have a sound gold-backed currency, basically got whacked. And he even talked about the fall of the czars in Russia in 1917. He said it wasn't because Russia wanted to go communist. It's because they stood up against the globalists and said, we're not going to go with your fiat currency so you can finance your wars. And they got taken out. And so recently you've been talking, he says now you have a new regime in Russia who is embracing gold and embracing sound money, and maybe that's that whole East-West dichotomy that you've talked about. Do you want to update us on that topic as far as this principle of acquisition of physical metals by the East at the expense of divestiture of physical metals by the West?
Yeah, I mean, they're the ones buying all of the gold and silver. They're the ones that produce all of the gold and silver. And it's not just the gold and silver. The BRICS nations are responsible for over 26 or 7% of all the world's oil production, over 50% of all the iron ore, 40+% of all the corn, almost 50% of all the wheat. And at the same time this is happening, we're seeing a massive reorientation, I guess you'd call it, of trade flows and of foreign economic contracts towards other partners, away from the U.S., primarily the BRICS countries. And, we've talked about how all of these countries are coalescing together They are joining together, the ones with all of the commodities, and we can see that happening in real time, no question about it. And I think that's the ultimate challenge here for this country and for the fate of the markets. It's not what Jerome Powell will do. It's when do the BRICS, who've already said they're going to issue a new global reserve currency, and it's already been promised to be pegged to commodities, when does that switch get flipped? I mean, I've talked at length about the dollar hegemony being really the protection of the Saudi kingdom and, by extension, OPEC agreeing to value oil globally in dollars. We've talked about how OPEC and all 13 members of the OPEC group are on the Belt Road Initiative. Well, from the you can't make up stupidity category, there's a new deal, a new bill that was issued by the House Democrats, just about as stupid as can be, and just goes to show how little they really understand about what's happening, where they want to withdraw the U.S. air defense systems from Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Now, it's bad enough that Saudi Arabia has expressed interest and or applied to BRICS, that bad enough that they're being protected by Russia, as is Nigeria, who was also just extended invitation to join BRICS, by the way. It's bad enough that they're selling their oil to China for the petro-yuan bond that is immediately convertible into gold. It's bad enough that the United Arab Emirates, who hasn't joined BRICS yet, did join the BRICS Bank. I mean, you can see where this is going. And, when you see, according to these genius senators, Saudi Arabia and the UAE drastic cut in oil production, despite President Biden's overtures to both countries, is a hostile act against the United States and a clear signal they have chosen to side with Russia in the war. And these guys are out of their flipping mind. And if we hasten the demise of the petrodollar, which it seems like we're doing by antagonizing Saudi Arabia, it's just only going to speed up this religious moment where the dollar gets globally dumped and interest rates spike. And I mean, you really cannot make it up that we would, and this is by the Tom Molinowski of New Jersey and Sean Casten of Illinois and Susan Wild of Pennsylvania. I mean, these people really need to read their history books. These people really need to understand that by doing that and calling for that, and removing the military presence, I get it. I don't like the military presence across the globe any more than anyone else. But when you lose the privilege of being the petrodollar, and you have, for the very first time, countries that in and of themselves cannot compete either on a military basis, perhaps, or economic basis with the United States, but when they all join together against this rallying cry of sanctions and of hypocrisy, and use a glue of pegging commodities to a new system, I think it is an incredibly, incredibly frightening possible outcome. And it's getting closer by the day. And even in a story like this, where you can read it on Bloomberg, that our senators are calling for this, they don't talk about the unintended consequences of doing this. And if all of a sudden you see Saudi Arabia and all of the OPEC countries standing on a stage touting the Belt Road Initiative and their new BRICS and BRICS Bank union, along with all of the other countries, I mean, by the day, there are more and more and more of these countries being added to it. There was just the other day, Algeria, Argentina, Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, Kazakhstan, Senegal, Uzbekistan, Cambodia, Ethiopia, Fiji, Malaysia, Thailand, and the list goes on and on. And we are losing this battle. And if they say, hey, like I've always said, thank you for the memories, we're now going to open up oil sales in all these other currencies, it's good night, Irene. And that's when it starts to get really, really frightening in this country. And I don't know. I see it as clear as day. And yet, again, very few people are talking about this. You see a story, but they don't say what happens if we do that. And Saudi Arabia says no longer only dollars. In fact, we don't even want dollars for oil anymore, God forbid. Then watch what happens. So that's what I got for you on that story, Dunnigan. Nothing but a basket of roses, but I'd rather know what's coming than be blindsided by it.
Well, one of the things that's noteworthy there, besides the fact that that's all happening, is the position and the actions taken by our administration. It isn't just like, hope the door doesn't hit you on the way out. It's here, let me help the door hit you on the way out. Actually making people, just kicking them out. And we've seen for the longest time, from a preparedness standpoint on our channel, it's the most bewildering thing until you finally just relent and go, okay, I'm going to quit having the expectation that those who are supposedly at the reins of power in our country have the best interests of our people at heart. Like, why would we undermine our own energy independence? Why would we increase our dependence on for critical infrastructure resources and everything to countries that are hostile to us, and on and on and on. And yet it just keeps on happening. And it seems like when it seems long enough and over a period of time that those who are in power are doing exactly what you would do if you were trying to collapse a society, trying to diminish a society, then you eventually, I think that's even in the Declaration of Independence, it says, when over a period of time there's a inexorable evidence that this person is always trying to keep you down, you eventually have to take action. And that's very concerning for those who are paying attention. Most people aren't. They just know that things are starting to seem strange and they're hearing some grumblings and prices have gone up. But I think the vast majority of people, since they're not being told this, as you point, the mainstream media is not connecting the dots for people. They're not seeing the connections that you're seeing. But for those who are waking up and seeing this, it's gone from bewildering to maddening to, okay, what are we going to do to take care of ourselves, because the powers that be are not taking care of us or our country.
They're not, and they're not taking care of the country. I was reading Simon Black the other day, who's got a great newsletter. He was talking about how last fiscal year, the U.S. government spent or repaid $15.7 trillion worth of bonds just in the last fiscal year. Now, how the hell do they do that? They do that by borrowing more money. And what's interesting about that is if you look at the 2-year Treasury in 2020, it was 0.012%, and now it's about 4%. The cost of borrowing money it has gone up exponentially. And so, at the same time, they're doing all of these stupid things, antagonizing the world, kicking Russia out of SWIFT, antagonizing the dollar petro standard with Saudi Arabia, justified or not. The consequences are going to be severe here at home. There are better ways to deal with this, with diplomacy rather than threats and saber rattling. And at the same time they're doing that, they're bankrupting us with the Inflation Reduction Act that costs $800 billion, with the continual issuance of treasuries that are now being purchased usually pretty much only by the Fed. And all of these other infrastructure programs and stupid things that they're doing that is bankrupting this country at the worst possible time. It is every single thing that we could do, from foreign relations to monetary and fiscal policy, is right out of the How Stupid Can You Be book. And, someone said, and I don't remember who it was, powerful men can, and it's something to this, I'm going to get it totally wrong, but powerful men can be dangerous, but weak men can be far more dangerous than that. Now, I totally butchered that, but if you look at this president, he's about as weak as they come, and he's not pulling the strings. Somebody or some group behind him are doing these things that are just I don't know, they're frightening. And I think it's only going to exacerbate the speed at which things start to unfold. And you can see that happening where almost every week there's something new. And, when people think that they're going to get tough on inflation and make inflation go away, I want to also remind people that in 1980, with 13% inflation, where Paul Volcker raised the federal funds rate to 18%, almost 20%. It still took 5 years to get inflation down to 4%, and then almost another 10 years to get it back to the 2% target. So learn from history. This isn't an easy fix. And at some point, they're going to get so aggressive that you get people like Kathy Wood from that ARC Innovation Fund, who just sent an open letter to the Fed. You keep doing this, you're going to blow up the economy. Well, of course. But what if they don't do it? What if it's incentivizing Saudi Arabia to pull the peg on the dollar through the OPEC no longer taking dollars, and watch what happens to rates then. That's how close we are. That's how fragile we are. And, one last thing. I mean, I've been saying for 2 years that product was going to disappear. I took more heat on that than anything I've ever done in my career. And I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. And it's happening, and it's real. It is. Look, here's how you'll know if it's really real, okay? Because the U.S. Mint has been nothing but inefficient. If the pre-release 2023 Silver Eagles are still at stupid $15, $16 premiums, it ain't getting better anytime soon. That's how you know. If the pre-release Gold Eagles and Gold Buffaloes are still at these crazy levels, almost my cost over 10%, it ain't getting better anytime soon. Now, we don't know that yet, but we'll see. And my guess is if things continue down this path, you ain't seen anything yet.
The other thing I want to just throw in there for what it's worth, my personal opinion based on all of the experts that I've talked with on our channel is it's no longer rationally defensible to say, oh, the bankers don't understand, or the Congress is just stupid, or whatever. It does not fit. It does not. Occam's razor says the most simple explanation. The most simple explanation to this is a controlled demolition of our economy, of our financial edifice, and of our country. And that actually explains all of the actions. But the only question it leaves unanswered is, who's the one really pulling the strings? Because it's not those that are in the figurehead positions that are put in front of us on television.
And it's scary, Dunnigan. It's scary as hell when you think of it that way. Let's just be honest. Why are they bringing the whole system down? I mean, it's still a wonderful place to live, and I feel blessed to live in America and all, but, things are starting to spin in every single way so much faster, and so much chaos everywhere you look. And at the same time, we're so blurred by people getting beaten up in a subway, God forbid, or all of the crazy things that we're seeing on TV. We're not noticing what is literally a generational shift in power right in front of us. And just the very fact that we are this close to having Saudi Arabia and OPEC break ties with the U.S. as its single source of petroleum sales, or using the dollar, I think people are missing the boat. They're missing the big picture, and they're focused on the wrong stuff. So this is why you mitigate your exposure right now to these assets. This is the reason why. And one last thing. If gold and silver were so forgotten based upon a price that's come down, then why do we see record drawdowns to the point where they're on both exchanges? The lowest it's ever been in the registered category on COMEX, I think, is 20 million ounces. We're at 40 million right now. Why are we seeing the ETFs being drained of metal? Why are we seeing the London Metals Exchange being drained of metal? Why are we seeing the COMEX being drained of metal? Where the hell is it all going? Who's buying it all? Ask yourself that question, and that should help you take a step back and say, sounds like they're misdirecting the price to gobble up all the supply while no one is paying attention, because people are only affected by price. And if you want to manipulate someone, it's real easy to do it with price and nothing but price. And it's the hidden ball trick, and it works, and it's worked. And if there were no massive drawdowns on all of these exchanges, I may not feel the way that I do. But it's very obvious to me that, once again, the similar theme I've talked about with you for 2 years, the no-look pass in basketball. This is complete and total misdirection. And when you see sky-high premiums on every exchange across the globe, including the wholesale exchanges, and the lowest level of supply on all of these exchanges, and the massive drawdowns, then trickling down to this industry where it's next to impossible to get anything, and at massive premiums, I don't know how much more people need to see or hear before they believe that, there's interest by the highest level in this industry. And that is a precursor to something big in this industry. Guess what and when remains to be seen.
I know when we ask you every week what the special is that you'll be able to offer, this week was especially difficult for you. We asked you yesterday, you said, I don't know. We're working on it, because it's been so difficult given that supply chain picture and the cleaned out shelves at the upstream wholesalers. It sounds like you were able to come up with something that we maybe already had in stock, but that's not the same as what you usually are able to do.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, it is getting hard. I mean, because you just want to have stuff to sell, let alone a special. So we still have the 2022 Silver Maple Leafs on sale at $725 over spot, and the JBR Kilo Silver bars. I've been a big fan of the Kilo bars and the 10-ounce bars and all the bars lately because the premiums are so much more manageable in relation to the coins. $725 on Maples. Well, heck, that's almost $10 less than an Eagle, but still a lot. And there's no way around it. I don't even know what else to say about that. But the kilos at $350 over on the JBRs, they're fantastic. And at 32.15 ounces, roughly the size of a cell phone, you're not too big. And you're getting a better value than you are on all of the coins. Even, other coins that we have might be $5.50 over. So you're saving $2 an ounce minimum over any of the sovereign coins per ounce. That adds up. So those would be our two specials while supplies last. It's getting harder done again, but we'll continue to try and bring it. But one of these days, when the ratio between silver to gold changes, right now we're still somewhere near 90-1. I didn't look today, but look, the historical average over the past 200 years nearly has been about 42-1, and it's coming out of the ground at 7-1. There will come a time when the specials go from silver to gold, and there will come that time. We're not there yet. Still, silver is still the most undervalued asset, probably the best investment on the planet. So anyways, Dunnigan, I love you. I love being here. Thank you for letting me vent. It's very cathartic for me, and because, unfortunately, the message is one of you better get your house in order, and that's not one that's typically fun at a cocktail party. So at least I can come here and put on my glasses and talk with you. So I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you next week, of course, unless something crazy happens before then. But as always, best to you and yours and everyone out there, and thanks for having me again.
Yeah, and just to give you a plug, we have multiple clients every week and viewers and subscribers who write to us and call us and talk to us and say, let Andy know that the reason we like listening to him is because he's a straight shooter. So as opposed to all that spin that they're going to get on mainstream media, all that redirection, looking the other way, ignoring the elephant in the room and everything, you've been jumping up and down and saying this elephant is in the room and it's going to be knocking down the walls pretty soon. So you guys, pay attention. So people really appreciate that. They find that a good break from the mind numbing, hypnosis that you get on every other channel. So thanks for being here on Liberty and Finance.
If nothing else, I try to be real. That's about all I can say with sincerity. I try to be real, and I appreciate the compliment. It means a lot. And thanks for having me, buddy. We'll see you again real soon.
Take care.
Miles Franklin Precious Metals is one of America's oldest and most trusted bullion dealers. Miles Franklin is A+ rated and accredited by the Better Business Bureau, licensed and bonded, and has 0 complaints ever registered. Here at Liberty and Finance, we are licensed brokers with Miles Franklin. To order, simply call us, discuss your needs, and we will let you know our live inventory, prices, and availability, and lock in your order over the phone. Once your order is locked, the price is held for you regardless of market fluctuations, and the metals are reserved for you awaiting your settled payment. Within 1 business day of ordering, you will receive an email invoice detailing the order and payment instructions. Miles Franklin accepts payments by bank wire, ACH or electronic check, money order, check mailed priority mail, and cryptocurrency. The fastest forms of payment are bank wire and cryptocurrency. Upon settled payment, metals will ship out within 3 to 5 business days. You will receive tracking information via email. Domestic shipping charges are $15 for any order under 500 ounces of silver or 10 ounces of gold. For orders larger than that, domestic shipping is free. The package will be double boxed, fully insured, and labeled discreetly, with no indication of the contents inside. For your privacy, the name Miles Franklin will not even be on the package. To talk to myself, Elijah, my brother Kaiser, or my father Dunnigan, call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237.